Hello and welcome to Footy Judge More people. We're here to have a great show for you. We're gonna update you with the news, but also we're gonna have a discussion about Ivan Toney, of course. But Rafinha is going to Spurs, and they want to offer Romero, the best centre back in the world, based on their word, right? So they're willing to let go of Romero. Douglas Luiz is wanted by Arteta. Is he the answer for Arsenal's title hopes? Along with Ivan Toney, of course, who is between Chelsea and Arsenal. And Varane is full out with another player that wants to leave Man United because he's sitting on the bench, because he doesn't respect Ten Hag. But I'm here with two great guys to discuss all of this for you. So stick with us. Hit that like button if you just joined us. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. But I'm here with the debutant, of course. Jerry's here. JJ is here with us for the first time. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Appreciate you, man.
What's up? Happy to be here, man. Happy to be here. It's been a long time. It's been a long time, Mo, but yeah, it's a long time coming. It's a long time coming, but yeah, looking forward to it.
Peer Chief, Football Heritage TV, joining me for the second time in 1 week. I'm here. I'm glad for you to be here, my man. It was a great live last time. We enjoyed it. How are you feeling? How's everything with you?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. All things are good, mate.
Everything is good. Everything. I hope all the viewers are good. Hit that like button for us, people. And listen, there's only one place to stop because it's all over the news. This Rafinha guy, who I consider overrated player, Spurs want him to play on a winger where Kulusevski is playing. Perchi, how's that even? Why would you want to give up? Why did the club think that they want to give up Romero for this winger where you have Kulusevski on the books?
I mean, it is very Spurs at the moment to, when you're crying out for a defender, to get rid of one and then bring in a winger, which we have a numerous amounts of at the moment. Maybe not at mass quality, but it's very Spurs at the moment. I'll be honest, I don't think there's much in it, in the rumours of it all. I would be amazed if it happens. I'd be very, very shocked if it does happen. I don't think it. I think it's probably more on a Barcelona want to try and get rid of him so they can free up space to bring in another one. Yeah, I'm a bit confused. It really would confuse me because I sit back and think about it. We've got Brennan Johnson we've signed for £43 million, give or take, whatever it was. Play him out of position out on the left to then now in January sign Rafinha for 70 million quid or whatever it's going to be. It's a crazy amount of money I'm hearing. When you've got a lad that, listen, I don't think Brennan Johnson's going to lie up trees, but I don't think he's terribly worse than Rafinha in the sense of it. In the compare, I think they're quick players. I like Rafinha. I actually do like him, but I think it's a non-starter. I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, JJ, were you one of the guys that rated Rafinha in the Premier League? I didn't, to be honest. I thought he's an okay player. He's not better than Kulusevski. He's not better. Like, I can name 10 wingers in the Premier League that are better than him.
I think at the time, I don't think you could have named 10 at the time. I think now, in hindsight, you can go and talk about it. He hasn't really,
he has been playing for Barcelona, so there are 10 wingers that are better than him.
No, exactly. No. Yeah, he was playing for Barcelona and he hasn't been as influential as he was at Leeds. But I don't think at the time there was 10 wingers better than Rafinha. I think there was a big portion of going on 1-2 seasons, a big portion of that time where, as Liverpool fans, we wanted Rafinha. We wanted Rafinha at Liverpool. We wanted Rafinha. And that's not necessarily to go and displace Salah. No, but we wanted him in our squad. We wanted him in our team. I think he was very influential for that Leeds team. Like, let's be honest, that Leeds team was really, really garbage. That one season where they kind of caught everyone by surprise with Bielsa. But after that, they were quite terrible in their time in the Premier League. And he was their one kind of shining light. So, look, is he Rafinha going to Spurs? If he's displacing Kulusevski, then that's a gamble because you know what you've got with Kulusevski right now and you don't know what Rafinha can provide Spurs.
Kulusevski is one of the most creative players in the Premier League. Numbers don't lie.
No, he is, but so was Rafinha. Yes. But so was Rafinha at the time, Mo. And that's my point, is that so was Rafinha at the time. But if they can go and have someone like that off the bench, then it increases Spurs' squad depth. I mean, a lot of talk around Spurs is the fact that, the 11's really, really good, They had their injuries, a couple of suspensions, and now their quote unquote title race, or title fight is now seemingly over. So for me, getting a Rafinha in, why not? I mean, as a backup, imagine having that as a backup.
Yeah,
That's
but
incredible.
So that gives me that tells me to the next question. What are Spurs' aspiration here? You're going to sign in a winger where you're really struggling to have defenders, right? You have Romero, you have Van de Ven, and then it's downhill from there. Is that where is the club going? How are they running the club? They have a really good offensive line this year. Solomon is going to come back at some point. Brennan Johnson, I don't rate him, but he has been good. Richarlison, you can replace Richarlison with somebody else. Son, Kulusevski, you have Madison behind him. What do they look? They have to be looking for defenders. I'm pretty. Where do you want to finish? Where do these people want to finish? Like, how are they looking at the club and thinking, yeah, now we need a forward. I think it's the right move. Let's go and get a winger. Yeah, that's the right move. I'm not seeing it, to be honest.
Listen, I agree. I said it in the summer. Look how many wingers we signed in the summer. Johnson, Solomon, signed Kulusevski. So you sit back, we signed 3 wingers. For me, we're crying out for a centre half. We're crying out for 2. I'm going to try and put a logical stand on this point. The only logical standpoint for us signing Rafinha is if Richarlison is leaving. It doesn't make sense otherwise. And by the way, I'm not suggesting that I think Rafinha is the one to sign. Blah 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 blah. I think he would improve us, but not to the rate where signing a better defender to add a bit of depth to Van de Ven and Romero. As I said to you, I think it's a non-starter. I think the Rafinha stuff. I think I would be amazed if he is signed before we sign a centre half, because it'd be very Spurs to go and sign a Rafinha and spend 60, 70 million quid on him, and then spend 20 million pound on a Lloyd Kelly who's got 6 months left on his contract from Bournemouth. I mean, that's a very Spurs thing to do in a window. And you go, for me, I want us to go and spend 50, 60 million pound on a couple of top centre halves that you can get in that will add depth. And I don't like using the word backup in this term, because it's all about squad depth. For me, you get in 2 centre halves that can challenge the likes of Romero and Van de Ven. That when one moment one of them can't bake it because you go, he's got a little bit of a niggle, so you put another one in to take the edge off and have more depth. That's what we're crying out for. We're not crying out for a winger.
Yeah, JJ, let me ask you something, since we haven't spoken about this. How did you view Spurs under Ange? How did you see the team? Where do you think the future you can finish? Where do you see the team is? How do you think this team will pan out? Like at the end, is it going to be a new manager bounce, or is it going to be actually a consistent thing?
It's an interesting one. I think that people now have got a soft spot for Spurs. I think Ange, I really liked what I was seeing from a football perspective. I really, really liked it. I liked the fact that it was different. I liked the fact he was able to rejuvenate the squad. And look, they signed Madison, signed obviously Van de Ven as well, but there weren't any major big money marquee signings after the sale of obviously of Kane, and they've dealt with that really, really well. Now, the question that you pose now is, can Spurs push on and become a team that's back in the top 4 consistently as they were under Pochettino, and can then obviously push on and surpass what Pochettino done? It's a very simple answer. We don't know until they do it, because it's Spurs. So it's the same thing with Liverpool before we obviously won the league. Liverpool.
What does that mean? Okay, hold on. What does that mean? Spurs, in the last 7 years, they finished above Arsenal in 6 of them.
Yeah, but that can't be the target to finish above Arsenal. That they cannot use that.
That is the target.
No, it's the target if Spurs, if Arsenal are obviously at the end goal. That's the case if Arsenal are top and Tottenham are trying to go and push on for what Pochettino done. But getting back into the top 4 and just being a steady Eddie top 4 team. I don't want to speak for Spurs fans, But I'm sure as fans, they've got a bit more ambition than that and want to win something.
Well, they've had ambitions in the last like 15 years, but
And no, of course they have had the ambition. Of course they have, but they haven't done it. Hence why I say,
and I'm not saying that as a joke. I'm saying that as real.
That's what I'm saying. We don't know whether they can be that team until they actually do it, because there's no previous of them doing it before.
Exactly.
They haven't got a manager that's done it before. Their players haven't done it before. There's no, the fans haven't experienced this before. So until they do it as an organization, as a club, we don't know. And it's a very kind of simple answer, but that's the way I look at it, is that they can only do it until they do it. And when they do it, then we can be like, oh, okay, they're that team.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Benedict here is sending a super chat saying Tottenham facing allegations. Well, I just went and I read, and I'm gonna let Pirchi, do you know, you can speak on it better than me. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's all about the Jermaine Defoe signing all that time ago. I mean, it's quite. I mean, let's be honest. This is just.
It is. And it's all about agent fees or something like this.
So basically, we used an unlawful agent to get the deal done and all this bloody. For me, I think it's more media storm than anything. Listen, I don't think anything will happen for something that happened so long ago. Because let's be honest, right? If Spurs get done for this, it opens a can of worms. Let's be honest. Tottenham can't have been. The law of averages cannot tell me that Tottenham are the only team to have done this in the last 20 years. This must have happened year after year after year. It's just unearthed. Let's be honest. If Spurs get done for this, it unearths a massive can of worms that every club will be trying to find their rivals that have done something a bit dodgy and go, there you go, point at that one there, and that one there. Let's be honest, it's not going to happen. It feels like we're in the era of points deductions and relegations now.
So and everybody wants to dig out like some old stuff.
Yeah. Of course, I mean, if we're going to get to that, what are we going to do nowadays? Like, we're football fans. Like, everyone's now trying to find problems with everyone's football club. Like, oh well, they're doing that. Get and watch football and get on with it, right? I think it's more of a. I think it's just more of a media frenzy. It made for good reporting because it got a load of clicks and likes on it, which is what everyone seems to want nowadays. So, personally, I'll be amazed if anything happens from it.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, this is like Harry Redknapp time. This guy, like, what is this, 2008 or something like that?
Yeah.
You want to dig out something that is 2008 for an agent fees? Come on, just give me a break, to be honest. In terms of Spurs, in my view, I actually said I saw no signs of slowing down unless they get injuries, and I didn't predict injuries. I didn't predict you to lose 3 starters in just 1 go, 4 actually, including Udogie. Now Udogie's injured from Italy. He was drawn from the Italian squad. Van de Ven is going to come back in January based on the reports. Romero, I think, has 1 game left, if I'm not mistaken, or 2 games left. Madison is a long-term injury. I'm looking at Spurs and I'm feeling that all this project can actually go to the dust if you don't make Europe this year. Because I'm seeing Aston Villa more consistent now with injuries, of course. Spurs, I saw no signs of slowing down. But with these injuries and the suspensions, I think your bench is too weak to sustain not a title charge, just even a contention for 4th place. Because I see Chelsea might come back. I see Newcastle, even though they are crap now. We know that Newcastle have another gear. We saw it last year. We rolled them out last year, and at the end, they finished 4th. Aston Villa are good. If Spurs don't finish in top 4, how would you look at this season if Spurs don't finish top 4, especially with the start of the season?
Good question. I'll take us. Let's go back on a little memory lane back to the start of the season, back in August. And I said would finish 7th or 8th this season. I said, listen, it's going to take a long time to fix it. We had a great start and everyone got excited. We're winning it all. We're going to win the league. We're going to win absolutely everything. And I just said, just wait, because it's going to happen. We're going to get a couple of injuries. Yeah, and our 11's good. But I think when you then break it down, you lose a Romero, you lose a Van de Ven, you lose James Maddison. Tottenham don't look the same football club. We look like the football club of old, and I think that for me is the key bit for me. That's the key.
Yeah,
you lose James Maddison, you lose everything. But for me, as I said, just to sort of go back to it, when I went to start, would I be annoyed if we finished outside of the Champions League? No. I think. Listen, if I said we get into Europe next season, I think that's a good result. I think that's the steady progress that we're expecting. If we get into the Champions League at the end of the season and we're in the Champions League, for me, that's an incredible performance for a manager to go and take this Spurs team to the Champions League again. But it's all about build work, the brickwork. Let's build the house before we start partying in the house. I think Spurs fans started partying in a half-built house 10 games in. Oh, we're undefeated in 10 games. I said that can easily, at a click of a finger, lose to Wolves. So lose to Chelsea, lose to Wolves, lose to Villa, lose to Man City. Then that makes the West Ham game, the 5th game on that run, massive. Then we got to play Newcastle. So then you look at that run and go, hang on, Spurs could easily go 6 games losing. It's not unthinkable. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's not unthinkable because the way that we've got injury-wise, Maddison's out, Van der Ven's out. Yeah, Romero's coming back, but now with it, Romero comes back after the Man City game, which is then West Ham United. See, it very quickly, it can spiral for Tottenham and you can go, hang on a minute, whoa. From going from 10 games undefeated, 8 wins, 2 draws, we could go into 16 games into the season and have 8 wins, 2 draws, 6 losses. And it doesn't look as pretty then. And that's why I always sit for me. By the way, before people in the comments think I'm saying we're losing, I'm not saying it, but there is plausibility when you say your big players are out that you don't win games of football. And we're not talking about average teams that are in a relegation fight. We're talking about teams that are doing quite well at the moment. So I think that for me is a worry for me.
People in the chat, let me know where do you think Spurs will finish. There's 200 people here. Hit that like button. Get us to 200. Get us to 100 likes at least. People hit that like button for us. There's 200 people here, so hit that like button. Listen, I want to move on from Spurs a little because I think this Rafinha thing is just crap, as you said. I think you're gonna try to sign a defender, but there's no smoke without fire. Everybody in the chat, let me know. 5th or 6th people are saying. But moving on to Arsenal, and I'm gonna go to JJ here. Arsenal are. Okay, so there are news that they want to sign Douglas Luiz from Aston Villa, who has been absolutely amazing. Where do you see Arsenal this year? How do you compare them to Liverpool? Because this is the comparison for the 2nd place, as you want to call it. But I'm going to come to Liverpool later. But do you think a midfielder, as someone like Douglas Luiz, can be the answer for them in this January transfer window?
Yes, because I think it could be the answer for Liverpool as well. I think he's a really, really good player. I think he's a player that I've spoken about for a couple of years now. I think since he moved from Man City, I think he's been quite good. And I just think he's gone under the radar with Aston Villa not being as good as they are currently under Emery. Also, other players getting a bit more clout. Watkins, McGinn in that team as well. A couple of other players. But he's starting to come to the fore now. Arsenal, for me, are in it's an interesting situation with that team because I didn't expect Liverpool to be as close to Arsenal this early on in the season as we are. So I struggle to kind of compound that in my head and kind of decipher, is it because Arsenal are really bad or are other teams just much better and Arsenal at the same level? I think they are struggling in that defensive mid role. There's obviously issues with Partey that mean he's either unavailable or injured or whatever the case may be. And I think having someone in there that's a bit more mobile, that can also provide quality on the ball, will be a very, very good signing for them. And it might be a signing that galvanizes them and can actually help kickstart their season because I don't think they've hit their top gear yet. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether that can go through in January.
Listen, for me, I don't think they need a Douglas Luiz. I think they need more of an 8. This is I am very consistent about this. Declan Rice can be one of the best defensive midfielders in the league. And when he played that, I thought he was very, very good. Douglas Luiz has been great for Aston Villa, but why would you want to go get another 6? Why would you want to go and Liverpool might go for Douglas Luiz, but you need an 8. You need a little bit of a box-to-box midfielder from that.
Do you think, Mo, sorry to interrupt, do you think, though, that they want something different from a defensive midfielder? They want someone that has got a bit more guile in those deep positions where he can go and pop it off, do one to. He's a bit more silky. If you go and look at even Liverpool's decision to go and say, you know what, we're playing McAllister in that role, or you go and see Basuma in that role, I don't think Declan Rice really fits that type of profile. Hence why I think when he's playing in the 8, it actually helps his abilities a bit more because he's got the freedom to use his legs, use his power and get forward and give them that push that they didn't necessarily have last season. Whereas if you play him in that defensive mid role, it means that you can get another 8, but it means that you're still lacking defensively. Whereas when they've got that Declan Rice in there and another 6, it means that at any time or any given point in the game, they could just say, all right, we're going to just not Declan Rice, just drop off. We're going to play over 2, sit in, and you can marshal it that way.
Go ahead, Preachy.
No, I was just going to say, I think Douglas Luiz nowadays isn't that archetypal number 6 anymore. I think Unai Emery has transformed his game. I think when he was under Gerrard there at Villa, everyone kind of went, he's all right, he's a good player, but he's okay. Unai Emery's just gone and transformed him. I mean, this guy gets goals, by the way. This guy gets goals for Villa now. Sure. If he's found a way with him to go and be that late man into the box kind of role and get goals. So on JJ's point in that sense is I actually think he fits perfectly into Arsenal's plan. I hate to say it as a Spurs fan, but I think you're right. I think next to Declan Rice, and then you've got Odegaard. What you've got there is you've got a player that goes, do you know what? He's a bit of a hybrid player in a sense where you go, do you know what? If we need to be a bit more defensive, look, sit back for half an hour, break that, and then he can be the one that breaks your lines. Very similar to a bit like a Basuma role. And I think Douglas Luiz is a very, very good football player. If any one of Arsenal or Liverpool get a hold of him, I think he's a top player. I really like him.
Here's my opinion about it. You get Douglas Luiz, he can be an 8, but he's not the perfect 8. He's better than a 6 or a defensive midfielder. That goes forward as well. Declan Rice is a better 6 than an 8. But if you get both now in your team, you're losing the aspect of an 8. Yes, they are a different profile. Yes, they can provide different aspects of the game. Yes, one of them is stronger than the other. One of them can drive with the ball. But in my opinion, you go get another 8, now your team is complete. You go get a Douglas Luiz, you are forcing to play 2 players that are more defensive. It's the same as having Thomas Partey and Declan Rice on the team. People keep telling me that both of them, Declan Rice and Thomas Partey, is the answer. And I'm saying no. The way Granit Xhaka played last year is one of the reasons they were challenging. One of the reasons Odegaard was able to get all that. Douglas Luiz, he sometimes plays as a central midfielder. He goes box to box, yes. But every time I'm watching them, he is sometimes the one who gets the ball from the defense to the midfielder up. Like, he isn't the guy that is staying higher on the pitch. I get he's a brilliant player. I think Liverpool can do it with Douglas Luiz. Arsenal, they don't need a Douglas Luiz. They need I think what you guys are saying, that it's a different profile. Well, you have a hole in your starting 11. Arsenal have a hole, right? They have a hole left. They tried Smith Rowe, they tried Rice, they tried Havertz, they tried everybody. So going and get another 6, I think that would be, and also you're gonna spend a lot of money for Douglas.
It'll be a lot of money. Villa have no reason to sell, right? I think that's the key bit here.
So here's another question, though, because there is Ivan Toney now on the table for them. Do you think if they are to choose between Douglas Luiz and Ivan Toney, which one should they get?
Simple for me. Ivan Toney. They need goals. Arsenal need a goal scorer. Jesus isn't a goal scorer. And Nketiah doesn't score loads of goals. Yes, he does chip in with a few, but I think they need a goal scorer, and I think they need someone that vocal point that just goes and gets them 20 to 30 goals a season. They haven't got that player at the moment. But you could argue that they spread it across 5 or 6 players, but you get an Ivan Toney in, he gets you 20 goals a season. He's a guaranteed 20 goal a season sort of player for me.
But Ivan Toney, you don't think that Ivan Toney will take away from Saka, Martinelli, and Odegaard in terms of output? Because Gabriel Jesus gets involved.
But does it matter, though? Does it matter if he takes the output away from the likes of Saka and Martinelli? If he's putting it in the onion bag, it doesn't matter, right? Do you know what I mean? So, it's all about output in the sense of a collective output to an individual output. It was very much used with Tottenham for a long time, that Harry Kane would go and get 30 goals, but then some would get 10 and then the rest would get 2 or 3. For me, it was all about collective. It was all about, if Kane's getting 30, I expect the likes of Son to be getting 15. Then the rest getting 10s, in the 10s mark. When it went from 30, 10, 4. And it was like, and then it was 2, 2, 2s, 1s. And like, it was basically got to a stage. What you want, the perfect combination is your goal scorer gets you a load of goals, but everyone else around you chips in with 10 or 11 around in collection.
What are you saying about that, JJ? Like, for me, I keep saying that a false 9 gets the wingers involved. People say, but Ivan Toney can do that. But yeah, he plays for Brentford. Come on, it's a defensive team. Play counter-attack. It's too much risk. You think that Ivan Toney is the one that Arsenal need? And do you think if he goes to Arsenal, he can bench Gabriel Jesus?
The question you'd have to ask yourself is, would Arteta be willing to sacrifice, like you said, that kind of false 9 style of play for having a more archetypal type of striker? I mean, you've seen Klopp do it in recent years. Pep Guardiola's doing it. It seems that there's a shift now to having this type of more old-fashioned number 9. So the way I look at it is, for how good Gabriel Jesus is, he hasn't delivered it.
When he plays with Saka and Martinelli, he is very good.
Yeah, I know, but
keep forgetting about that because he gets injured.
Yeah, the thing is, they haven't delivered on anything yet. He's
What do you
injured
mean?
quite a lot.
Oh yeah.
Well, they haven't won an FA Cup. They haven't won a Carabao. They haven't won anything yet. So they've purchased a player that's really good, but they haven't delivered on anything yet. So if they, in 2 years' time, they're still in the same situation, challenging for the league here or thereabouts, but still haven't won anything, then that signing hasn't been a good return on investment, because they've signed this player to be their main man. Gabriel Jesus left Man City not to not be a number 2 and to kind of create his own lane and be this star man for Arsenal. So if you can't do it there, then you obviously have to look elsewhere. Now the question is, does Arteta feel as though he can rely on Jesus to go and get him 20 goals a season? Because I think that's what they need from him, and I think he needs to be consistently play. I think if he consistently plays, then Arsenal have a much better chance. But when I look at it, he's either always injured, or, you know, at certain games he doesn't play. I've seen Nketiah start certain games and Gabriel Jesus was on the bench. If that was Harry Kane per se or Haaland, number 9 starting. So it does suggest that there's an element of Gabriel Jesus's game that Arteta just doesn't like at the moment, or looks at and says, actually, you know what, Nketiah is actually a bit suited to that. Maybe Toney can be that all-rounder that can give him all of that, and actually can be that main guy. And look, they need goals. A lot of their fans were screaming for a number 9 after last season, and they didn't get it. So maybe Toney is the guy. And when you look at strikers like out right now, I mean, apart from the obvious names, there's no one really out there, is there? So, like, if you can get a Toney, do you know what I mean? Why not get him? And I think he's a brilliant player as well. So
I think Toney, what Toney does offer for Arsenal, and we're using Toney as this discussion point now. What he does offer Arsenal is a lot of options. I think this is the bit people miss. It's like the one thing which I love about Liverpool, and I'm blowing smoke up your club's arse for 1 second, and just this 1 second only. But the one thing I love about Liverpool's attack force is it's an array of different players with different qualities. You've got the strength and the pace of a Darwin Núñez, or you've got the trickery of a Mo Salah or a Diaz. I like Jota, or I like Gakpo. I think there's combinations of threes where if you're playing against Liverpool, you're really not sure which 3 they're going to go with, because you go, do you know what? They might go, do you know what? They're playing against some strong defence. We'll play Darwin Núñez there because he can offer the physicality. What I think Toney offers for Arsenal is a very similar thing to what Liverpool have. And I don't think they're on the same level at the moment. I think Liverpool's attack is far better. But what I would say with that is, you bring in a Toney, then you go, do you know what? We have different strikers. You've got Saka's, Martinelli. Then you've got the likes of Jesus, Toney. You've got different players that can fit different roles. If you want to go, you have an option then to play 2 up top. You have an option of playing Jesus out on the left if you want. Saka on the right, or rotating a little bit. The Arsenal are in that era at the moment where they need depth, and they need strong depth. It's all well and good having depth, but you want good enough depth that you go, do you know what? I'm happy to drop a Bukayo Saka today because we're going to play this player. I'm happy to drop a Jesus because we can play this player now. Martinelli as well, and not have that same front three. Because let's be frank, I think we know that Arsenal front three, if it's strong, the fitness of it all, who's strong enough, who plays. If all of them are fit, we know it's most likely Martinelli, Saka, Jesus. They've obviously brought in the likes of Trossard, who I like a lot of. So I think squad depth is key. And I think that's the thing with Arsenal. They need depth more than anything in that attacking line. No.
Listen, so comes in the next question. In my opinion, Ivan Toney is improving in a position-based team. It's a massive risk to pay 70, 80 million pounds on him, but there is a lack of strikers around the world, and you need that. And Ivan Toney can get you 20 goals. He's on the eye. He's absolutely fantastic. I like watching him. I think he has everything to be a top footballer. 27 years old, has the experience in the Prem as well. And I think he's a leader actually on the pitch. But I just like Gabriel Jesus too much, to be honest. I'm not an Arsenal fan, but just every time I'm watching the guy, the way he brings the attackers around him is something that not a lot of people can do. He reminds me of Firmino, to be honest. Firmino, to be honest with you, Firmino had better players in Salah and Mane around him. But I think actually he does that, Gabriel Jesus. Can Ivan Toney do that? I don't know. Can Ivan Toney bring the best out of Saka's game, Martinelli's game, like what Firmino did with Salah and Mane? I'm not sure, to be honest. But I think Ivan Toney, if you are a luxurious club and you want to get another option, well, that's a different story. Like if you want to have both, I'm going to play Gabriel Jesus and sometimes I'm going to bring Ivan Toney depending on the game. Yes, I get that. But if you're going to shift Gabriel Jesus and you're not going to play him, I think that's a massive risk, in my opinion. So let me ask you a question that we spoke about it on the football terrace yesterday. If you are Ivan Toney now, which club would you choose? Forget the money between Chelsea and Arsenal. If you're offered a 4 or 5 year contract in both clubs, which one would you go to? Which one is more attractive? Which one do you think is going to win before the other? JJ, it's a tough question. We couldn't answer it, but it's a tough question.
Are the roles the same? Because
what do you mean? You're a striker. You're a striker. There is Nkunku and there is Gabriel Jesus.
No, of course. But Nkunku hasn't touched the pitch yet. So currently, as it stands, he doesn't exist. He has not played for Chelsea.
He's coming back in the Newcastle game. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll see. But he hasn't touched the pitch right now. So currently, if you're a striker, and the way strikers and actually Tony's spoken about it before, saying that when he went to Brentford, he went because he felt like, okay, they really, really wanted me, and he wants to be at a team that really wants him. If Chelsea go and call him, he can look around and be like, they haven't got a striker. They've only got that Jackson guy. And if they're signing me, then boy, I'm probably going to be starting and I'm going to be the main guy. So you go to Chelsea. On the flip side, if Arteta's buying you for 70, 80 million, then that also means that, hey, they're feeling you. Arteta's feeling you, and you're going to be the first man. You're going to be that main guy. So it's a difficult one. We saw it with Ramsdale and Raya, isn't it? Raya comes in and straight away. He's the main guy. Havertz comes in.
Hold on. Can I interject? He's going to go to be the striker for both teams. Which one would he choose?
I think he chooses Arsenal.
Why?
I think he chooses Arsenal because it's more stable projects. If Arteta's buying him, then that would imply that Arteta wants him, because you're not going to get him on the cheap. It's not going to be an easy pickup. It's going to be a very hard deal to crack. And Brentford are going to want, 70, 80, 90 million for him. They're going to try and
the rest,
if not more. So I think you'd go Arsenal, because Arsenal would have to show ambition to try and get you, which means that you're more likely than not going to be the main man up front. Chelsea right now are in a bit of disarray. I know they had a really, really good performance against City and they're starting to come around, but there's still that inkling of something might go wrong. Pochettino might be gone. Do you know what I mean? Soon. What happens if these players don't? Do you know what I mean? Do really well. You've obviously got the whole FFP situation in the background as well that could potentially bite them in the back. So, yeah, I think you go Arsenal.
Percy, do you agree with that? Like, do you think the Arsenal project is more stable at the moment?
Yeah. right now. I mean, it's further down the line, so you have to say it probably would be more stable. But I think it's very hard to judge this. If we're basing it, if the contracts are exactly the same, for both clubs, where would he go to? I agree with JJ. I think goes Arsenal over Chelsea, but I think I don't think it's as close as. I don't think it's as far away as everyone thinks. Everyone thinks, all of a sudden it's going to go to Arsenal now.
No.
I think if Chelsea put in a project to him to say, look, we're going to put you on 7-year contract, 5-6-year contract, stupid amounts of money. We want you to be our number 9, and we want you to be our number 9 from minute 1 and do the business for us. I don't think Chelsea are too far off it. Let's be honest. I think Arsenal fans had it all summer, right? Or not last summer, sorry, all January last with Mudryk. Oh, he's coming to Arsenal, blah, blah, blah. He's wearing an Arsenal shirt before, blah, 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 blah. Then he signed for Chelsea. So I think the notion that Chelsea don't have a pool is a silly one. I think Chelsea have every right to get a hold of an Ivan Toney if they want him. Does Ivan Toney fit the model of what Chelsea want at the moment? Unsure. How old is Ivan Toney?
27.
So he doesn't really fit the mold on players that we.
But maybe that's what they need, though. Maybe play experience that they need.
I agree. By the way, what they need is 2 different conversations. I think they need an Ivan Toney. Will they sign an Ivan Toney is 2 different things because of the business model that Todd Bowley has started there. Ivan Toney doesn't fit it. So that for me is the question mark. Is Ivan Toney going to go to Arsenal or Chelsea? If it was between those 2 clubs right now, I think Arsenal is the banker, is what I would say.
For me, I actually think it's a no-brainer. And I said it yesterday. I think it's Arsenal all day, not because of the haters, Chelsea or anything. I don't hate Chelsea. Because Arsenal, people keep saying, but Chelsea has a project. William Saliba is 22, Saka is 21, Martinelli is 22, Trossard is not that old, Declan Rice is young, is 24. They have a lot of young players. Ben White isn't that old. People just keep saying that Chelsea are young. Well, so are Arsenal are very young as well.
Yeah, in context, of course.
Because people use Chelsea has the future. But what about Arsenal, who actually at the moment, the team is more coherent than Chelsea. Chelsea added tons of guys, right? They're all young. Arsenal have young players that are already playing together. That's my point. They can get an Ivan Toney that can be an experience, right? That can provide experience for Saka, for Martinelli. I think Arsenal are closer to winning a title if they keep Arteta, if they back him. I think Ivan Toney in an 8, and they might win it this year. In my opinion, they might win it this year, not even next year, right? Tony goes to Chelsea, they might make Europe. They might. But I think if Tony goes to Arsenal, I think it's a more stable team, in my opinion, more stable club. It's a more attractive club at the moment. Yeah, Chelsea has the money, but we don't know what is going to happen with FFP. They spent a lot of money. What if this project doesn't work? What is going to happen then to Chelsea? Are they going to be able to sell all these players? Are they going to sell all these players? Is Pochettino going to stay? I think Arsenal is the better choice for him. No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. And I think Ivan Toney, and that's the last question about Arsenal. If they get Ivan Toney and they get Douglas Luiz, or they get another 8, do we think that starting 11 is good enough to win the league this year if they stay around the top until January?
With Arsenal?
Yeah.
No.
Still no.
No. I think, do you know what? And I think the worry for me with Arsenal, I say worry, I don't care about Arsenal, but I say it from a Spurs perspective, not as a Spurs fan, but I look at it more, I just think Man City is still so much more clear than Arsenal. I think Man City at the moment are the team.
How are you saying that if Arsenal won against Man City though?
But that means nothing, Mo, right? Spurs beat Man City. We finished 8th.
Okay, so that's different because we had this conversation before. That's different. Spurs beat Man City even if you were 7th. Arsenal last year, one
Yeah.
of the main reasons they lost the league is that they couldn't handle Manchester City home
But
and away.
that wasn't the reason they lost, though,
One
Mark.
of
We had this
them. It was
conversation
one of
last
them.
week. It was the 3 games in the middle when they didn't win was the reason they didn't win the title. It was the games they should be winning against, right? When they went 2-0 up at Anfield and they threw it away. They threw it away. They went 2-0 up against West Ham, threw it away. Yeah, they went 1-0 down to Southampton and didn't win there at their place. That was the reason they lost. Not because they didn't. If they had lost to Man City twice, they would have still won the league if they'd won those games and moved on with it. That for me is where it is. I think Man City are machines, is what they are, the way they operate. And I think that for me was the key bit. Not that they didn't beat, because they didn't beat Man City. Listen, people beat Man City on odd occasions. It doesn't mean Brentford did the double on them last season. Let's remember that Brentford did the double on Man City last season. We're not sitting there talking about Brentford winning the title. So whenever we say, oh, well, they beat them. Okay, great. But then so did Wolves beat them. But we're not sitting there talking about Wolves. So that's the sort of context of it. For me, when it gets to the business end, we go back to type when Man City go and win 15 games on a row. That's what they do.
I'm not sure about this, JJ. So I get what you're saying, that not Brentford winning against Man City is, that doesn't mean they're gonna win the league. But Arsenal last year, they were very good. They had one injury for Saliba, and I think all went downhill. They lost focus, they lost concentration. Arteta couldn't handle it. Well, this year, if they get a midfielder and they get a forward now, their starting 11 is very good. They have Trossard in backup. They still have backup in the midfield. They have backup up top now. If they get Tony, Saliba's playing amazing this year. Gabriel isn't bad at all. Tomiyasu's coming to the fold. So why not this year? They were there and thereabout until Saliba got injured last year. The fact that they won against City, actually, it's a sign of maturity. Yes, they were lucky with a deflected goal, but they were head-to-head with City. I think they were toe-to-toe with City in that game. And I'm like, but it's the same as there's a difference between Brentford or what I'm not going to say Spurs or anybody else win or Wolves win against City. But if Liverpool go to the Etihad and play toe-to-toe with Man City, that's a good sign. I'm not going to say, yeah, but Wolves won. That's different because Liverpool are in contention to win the league. If they go to the Etihad and win, that's a good sign that they can compete with this team.
I think, I get what you're saying. And to a certain degree, I do agree. I think it is a sign of maturity. I think Arsenal being able to get over that mental kind of barrier of beating City has a massive benefit. The difference is that one team in Arsenal is a team that has been together now for, if not a season, if not 2, that have matured together. They've added a couple of additions, but those additions were plug and play, ready to go. City have more or less got rid of, like, De Bruyne's not playing at the moment. Gundogan, they're one of their best players, if not the best last season. Bar Haaland, I know he got loads of goals, has obviously left. They've got a different back line. They've got obviously Gvardiol coming in. They're playing this different system. It's now a 4-4-2. When they click, they're a different beast in January, February, March than they are now. There's been multiple seasons where City have lost games to Crystal Palace, or whether it might have been Spurs, and Spurs have got one over them. But when it comes down to it, they crank it up and they're able to deliver. And it goes back to my point when I was talking about Spurs. Until Arsenal do it, they haven't done it.
Yes.
So they need to go and do it, and they haven't done anything.
But we are saying that they're not going to do it.
Pardon?
But we are saying they're not going to do it. You're saying they're not going to do it, that they can't do it until we actually see them go and do it, right?
Exactly. That's my point.
But we are saying that they're not going to do it. That's the notion here.
You're saying they are.
Yes, but you guys are saying they won't.
Yeah, but that's my point. So until they do it, they won't be able to go and do it. They won't do it. It's like with Liverpool. Liverpool. Yeah. Like you cannot go and say, yeah, they're gonna go and do it when there's no basis for it. If you go and look at Liverpool had gone and won the Champions. They got to the Champions League final, right? Lost, then won it the following year, then won the league. There's clear progression of this team is doing something and they've won something serious. This team haven't even won a Carabao Cup for us to go and talk about and be like, you know what? They've won now. They've had one title race. Play amazing football, but they haven't done it yet. So how can we go and put them in the bracket with the City team that have won everything? And that continue to win everything and use one game as a barometer to say, hey, that's why they're going to beat that team because they beat them once. Like, I'm sorry, I can't view football like that at all. After one game, I cannot. If this was a thing where it happened over multiples of seasons, if they have last season again this season, and we're speaking about next season, then I'd get it. Then I'd be like, oh, okay. There's some kind of I see where you're coming from, but after one season, I can't do it because if they end up fourth this season, which I don't think they will, but if they were to do in an alternate reality, then what do we say about Arsenal then? Have they fallen off?
But my point is, yes, of course. Go ahead, Pritchie.
No. Well, I
just wanted to respond to say one thing. I'm not saying.
Oh yeah, go. I'll fill in.
I'm not saying Arsenal are closer to win the league than Man City. I still think I would tip City to win the league, but I would actually say if Arsenal sign Tony and another midfielder in January, it increases their chances massively of winning the league. If Liverpool go get a DM, if Liverpool go get a Douglas Luiz in January, I think your starting 11 is as competitive as Manchester City at the moment.
Yeah. That's on the basis that these signings have to come in.
Yeah,
but that was my whole argument, people.
But you're asking for too many things now. Saying if they buy a striker, if they buy another
that's what they're linked with. That's what we're here to talk about.
That's what they're linked with. But I can't go and expect them to come in and be signing. If
you're saying that they're not going to come hit the ground running. Okay, that's a different story.
No. I can't expect players to come and hit the ground running. It's the same way I can't go and write off a player if he comes in January and doesn't really perform and me go, that's it, he's rubbish, get him out of the club. It's like, no, if they don't hit the ground running, if we were to sign Douglas Luiz and we don't win the league because of Douglas Luiz and we finish fourth, I'm not looking at Douglas Luiz and saying, oh, you know what, he's garbage, get him out. I'm like, no, it's only been half a season. Give the brother some time.
So can I revert the question to you? So Manchester City signed Doku, Nunes, Kovacic, and Gavardio. Three of them are inexperienced players, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So why is it because Nunes is inexperienced to a point?
I thought he was brilliant last season, but okay, I'll let you.
He was good, but he's inexperienced to a point. Like he had one season in the Premier League. Okay, I'll give you that. Doku and Gavardio and two starters. So why don't we have the same energy for them? Because we saw them already hit the ground running.
Do you know why, Mo? Do you know why?
Yeah.
It's because very rarely do Man City get a transfer wrong. Let's be frank on it.
That's not rare. That's not true. I can name
it is. When does Guardiola and Man City go? You go, that player was an absolute flop. Normally,
Ferran Torres, Nolito, the goalkeeper Claudio.
Bravo.
No, I'm not talking. I'm talking about the last.
Calvin Phillips.
Calvin Phillips, okay, but Calvin Phillips isn't a starter, right? He's a squad player, right? Like he's one that is down the line. He wasn't signed to be the main man. They had Rodri. Like I heard all of this, by the way, about Jack Grealish, and now everyone's going, "What a football player!" Because what they have
Jack
at Man
Grealish,
City
what a football player. Okay, we're not going into
that. I think Jack Grealish is quality.
I'm not having any nonsense. He is quality, yes, for Aston Villa, not for Manchester City.
Oh no! We're
gonna go into that maybe later today. Maybe we'll go.
I'm gonna add it on to Rivals React. Everyone in the chat, make sure you go over there. 6 p.m. tonight.
So I can dismantle your logic about Jack Grealish.
Oh, don't you worry, my friend. I'll make sure of it because I know Savile would lovely to have this conversation with you. But by the way, I think Jack Grealish is a quality football player, regardless. But my point is, Man City very rarely get it wrong. Very rarely do they get a transfer wrong. The difference is here with Arsenal, and this is the key bit. I think we've kind of gone into transfers and all this lot and all that lot, whatever. The one problem with Arsenal, and listen, there's no evidence to say it happens. When the pressure happens, when the pressure is truly on to win a title, Arsenal haven't got it. How many games did they win in their last 10? Last 10 games, how many did they win? Does anyone know last season?
I don't know. I can guess 5.
Do I go?
I think isn't it 3 or 4?
4.
Yeah.
They won 4. And they lost in that. They drew those 3 games that I mentioned, lost to Man City, lost to Brighton, Nottingham Forest in that run. and then they won the last game when there was no pressure and won 5-0 against Wolves. And that for me, it kind of said it all for me. The reasoning for them was because they lost a centre half. Now, Man City lose a centre half. You don't hear them go, oh, well, they don't fall apart when they lose one player like a centre half.
Well, they did this year for a short period of time for Rodri.
Oh, I don't know. I think
they did fall apart.
Rodri wasn't the reason they lost to Wolves. The reason they lost to Wolves is Wolves defended resiliently. That was the difference, and it was one of those games.
I actually disagree. I think if they have a competent DM, he would have stopped all these counterattacks. A competent DM would stop the counterattacks. But yeah, it's all speculations, and we're assuming.
Of course.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Listen, no, that's one way.
We don't know.
It's all if buts and maybes, right? Like if my auntie had balls, she'd be my uncle.
No, it's not the same. It's not the same.
It is because
it's not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same.
You know what?
Man City lost the games without Rodri. The only games they lost were without Rodri.
But okay,
you know how important the DM is.
What the Man City normally do? They start slowly, end incredibly.
Yes.
Do you know? I can't wait, Mo, because you're a lovely bloke, and I know you'll kindly invite me on at the end of the season when the Man City have gone and won 10 games on the bounce.
Yes, I never say they won't.
No, I know you're not. I know you're not. But when I hear
if you ask me to put your money now, I don't bet. But if you ask me to put my money now, I'll still put it on Manchester City. I am all against the notion of Arsenal can do it. Like the fact that some people sit here and we talk here and we talk on your channel, Football Heritage. I talk with the people on Football Terrace, and I've seen people say, well, they have no chance. And you come to the end of the season and you're going to say,
no
right.
chance. I don't think there's no chance.
A lot of people.
Because in life, you can't, I always stand by the fact that it's mathematically possible, you still got a chance.
No.
Whether or not how slim it is.
No. So, okay, let me differentiate between that and this. Do you think Spurs have any chance of winning the league? No. Realistically?
I mean,
that's what I mean. Mathematically, you can't. Mathematically, you can't.
And mathematically, the percentage, if we're talking about a credible percentage, then I'm saying no.
Exactly.
Like,
Manchester United, Chelsea. No, the only two teams that can battle Man City and have a chance are Liverpool and Arsenal. That's my point.
Agreed.
But some people just say, tell me that they have zero chance. They never, and then we're gonna come here at the end of the season, and I will be right. And I'm not talking about you, by the way. I've heard it on the Football Terrace. I think Deji said it. Deji said it the other day. I think I'm not sure if it was a Football Terrace or the other day. With all due respect to a lot of fans, and it's not only Spurs fans, Chelsea fans, they tell me Arsenal will not win it, and you will see when comes the end of the season and Man City win it. Well, you are most likely to be right than wrong because Man City are closer to win the league, so it's easy to say that. But I think Arsenal have a chance of winning the league. The amount of games they won last year tells me that this team can win a lot of games. And if you win a lot of games, you win the league. Like Liverpool this year. And once this is done, we have 5 minutes left. I want to just go to Liverpool. But the last thing about Arsenal that I want, what's the percentage you guys give them? Not with the current squad. If they go and back their manager in January, you think Arsenal can win the league? Would you give them 10%, 20%?
20%.
I put about 15-20%. Yeah, easy for Arsenal to win it. I think Liverpool have got a bigger percentage on that, but Man City have the overall. I think over the majority, definitely. I think Liverpool. I've always said it's going to finish Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal as my top three. I genuinely, I don't see why it can't be that. I think Liverpool will be the closer team. Liverpool will be closer to Man City than Arsenal were last season. But okay. That's what I would say.
I can speak about Liverpool, but I really wanted to speak because I have it on the title about the Manchester United part, which is people find sometimes not interesting. Rafael Varane, I said something on the terrace yesterday, and LB came for me. I said that Rafa Varane, he's absolutely in the wrong to throw a tantrum because he's not playing and ask him to leave. You can do that on the behind closed doors. Now, if he does that and it's allowed, now every player that sits on the bench are gonna say, well, screw that, I want to go. I think that's absolutely garbage. Do you guys agree with that? Like, I get You're a World Cup winner. I get you're a Champions League winner. But you came 15 minutes in the Copenhagen game when Evans got injured, and every Man United fan said you were trash. You're passing the ball wrong. You couldn't stand on your feet. And now you're throwing a tantrum that you want to go because you're not playing because you are the world-class Varane. That shouldn't be happening in football, in clubs. And I don't care if Ten Hag, and I'm not here saying Ten Hag is the world-class manager. I don't care who's the manager. Players just shouldn't do that, period.
I think this is another case of living off your reputation and being, do you know what I mean? Getting a bit, I don't know, overexcited or valuing your worth a bit too much. I mean, this is a guy that's had a good career at Real Madrid, no doubt. I always doubted him a bit. I think he was a really, really good prospect, but I always doubted him. Injury concerns. He's come to United, and let's just be honest, he's another player that's been okay. He's been all right. Hasn't been great. I mean, he hasn't really got a foot to stand on. This isn't like, I don't know, Thiago Silva at Chelsea complaining to Pochettino for not playing. I mean, this is a player that's been arguably their best player season in, season out since he's come to the club. Varane's been poor. Let's just keep it a buck. Let's just keep it real.
Nobody wants to say that. Nobody wants to say that.
No, but he's been poor. He's been poor. Let's just be honest. He's been bad.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I think with the Varane thing, I think it's a weird one because I can see it from both ends of it here on this, and normally I don't. Normally I don't see it on both ends. For me, I think he's not as great as he used to be. I think he was a great defender, not anymore.
Does it really matter if he's great or not? If you sit on the bench because the coach is something,
I think it does. I get your point. If you're winning games constantly, if Man United are in a title race and they're winning games with Johnny Evans
but they have won 4 of the last 5 without Varane.
But no disrespect. There's no disrespect. Who have they beaten in those last 5?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But I get what you're saying. But that's not the point. At the end, they're winning the games. So until they lose, well, Rafael Varane cannot say, well, I'll do better than these guys.
But I get that. But then from that context, if you had, let's just use, I'm just trying to think of someone off the top of my head. Yeah, okay. We'll use Tottenham for this argument. So if we were winning games with Eric Dyer and Ben Davis, whilst we had no Romero and Van der Ven, from that logic, we don't put them back into the team when they're available. I'm not. I know it's slightly different in stuff, but in that sense, but I'm using that as an argument. Should we? The manager is making a lot of enemies. There's got to be a reason why he's making a lot of enemies at Man United. I'm not sitting here suggesting the likes of Varane's right or the manager's right and all that lot. But Eric Ten Hag is making a lot of enemies at Man United. Yeah. Sancho, Varane. How many more are now on that list of his thing? And and I said, well, that's all good and that's all well and good when you're winning games of football constantly. I'm not on about winning games against Luton, Brentford, nicking it in the death, and who was the other one they had in there? I can't remember. I had it on my list. Sheffield United, nicking a 2-1 win against Sheffield United, right? I'm not on about that. I'm on about consistently winning in a title race with the likes of Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool. They're nowhere near that. So when the manager makes enemies like that, his decision-making gets massively questioned because you go, well, hang on, we're not where we should be, but you're making enemy after enemy. And this goes only one way, and he will be sacked before Christmas. I'm telling you. He'll be gone.
I agree. I hear what you're saying. At the same time, though, like, it's not like Varane was like in
He's not Van der Ven and Romero. I'm sorry. Like, you gave me.
I get that. No, I get that. I know the argument was the example was slightly.
But I get what you're saying.
And if we're being honest, United, he has to go and make a stance because United were going through a horrible rut. He's got to make a stand. So hence why he was dropping players. He was like, hey, you know what? Maguire coming back into the fold to go and make a stance to be like, actually, if these players are going to muck about, the players that I've put trust in, all right, cool. I'm going to go to some of the players that don't get a chance. And heck, they were able to go and win games. Varane, like, no player should ever have that attitude and, and throw their toys at the pram for not being on the bench. But especially when you haven't gone and delivered. This isn't the equivalent of like Salah being benched by Klopp and Salah throwing a fit. I mean, if anyone's got a right,
I get that. I get your point.
When
on that
Varane's doing it, it's like, hold on, what's Pelistri gonna do when he doesn't get to play? What's his name? What's Garnacho? What's Garnacho gonna do now? Thinking, I've been an important player this season. I've been more important than Varane this season. What's going on there? Why am I not playing? Let me throw a fit. You have to nip that in the bud. And to be fair, I think that's why he might go and lose his job, because if he allows this stuff to fester, then they're gonna want him out, and then that's it. So
there's got to be a reason why this is all happening. By the way, there's no smoke with fire. This doesn't just happen. Like, players don't normally outburst like this, but there seems to be a lot that is happening under this manager. Rightly or wrongly, as I said, I'm not delving into the rights and wrongs of it all, but whenever this happens, you always sense there's something not right at the moment at Man United. And I've said it all season. Something doesn't feel right at Man United. And if it's not the team selection, if it's not this, but you sit back and go, it only goes one way. Managers don't last when this happens. I've seen managers doing better than Ten Hag is at the moment get the sack because they've lost the dressing room. So it comes down to it, right? And listen, you could argue, I saw a lot of this last season when the manager was coming out, calling out all the players making shallow digs this season about the old manager. Whether people agree or disagree, there was a lot of the sort of comments from a lot of our star players coming out with comments like, no, this is how we want to play football. Blah, 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 blah. Like, we're all happy now. So it's an unhappy camp at Man United, but it will only go one way if it keeps happening. Like, how many more players have got to make outbursts like this? That can't be right. And I don't agree with the outburst, by the way. I don't agree. I think players should shut up and get on with it. Like, shut up and get on with it. Deal with it behind the scenes. Should never go public. But let's see. For me, I think Ten Hag is sitting on thin ice, and I think all it takes is a couple of bad results and he will be gone, is my opinion.
I guess we'll see. So the last thing is that, because we have to end it here, is Abu Alhana. Thank you so much for the super chat, saying, did Leicester City show it before they won it? Well, that's kind of...
but that's not the case. No one expected them to win it. No one ever sat here in January and said Leicester are going to win it, unless there was that one guy that went and put a bet on Leicester to win it and won all that.
But yeah, Leicester was the anomaly to the rule. Like, I think we always got to remember there's anomalies to the rules with all of this. Leicester were the anomaly. We can't use the anomaly to change the ruling. Like, that's the way you always got to look at it.
Yeah, listen, I'm
big up to you for the super chat, my friend.
Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Listen, this has been great. I was meant to talk about Liverpool, but maybe for another time. Tonight we'll have a panel. Tomorrow at 1, we're gonna have Sava. But first, before all of this, Football Heritage TV. There's 250 people here still. Football Heritage TV. Today we have an absolute cracker of a show at 6 p.m. UK time. Rivals Reacts. Go give them a subscription, please. And that show is going to be a cracking show tonight.
It's going to be good tonight.
Second week, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. JJ, thank you so much, guys. JJ's channel and Football Heritage are in the description. Go give them a subscription, please, if you haven't yet. Like the last video or the last 10, because it makes a lot of sense to me, because they're helping me here. So please go subscribe to their channel. Click on the link. It will take you to their channel. Subscribe to their channel. Thank you, JJ, for joining. I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much. Pirchi, always a pleasure. We'll see you in some hours, couple of hours.
See you in a few hours, and we can have the Jack Grealish debate, my friend.
Absolutely. It's going to be my luck. Like, that'll be my pleasure. People, thank you so much for joining. Hit that like button before you go. Thank you so much for everybody that supported the channel with the super chat or with a like or the subscription. We'll see you guys later tonight. Thank you so much. Turn on the notification bell, and we're out of here. Out, people.